Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming and thank you to the organizers for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. So over the next 2 days, there's going to be so many amazing talks. You're going to hopefully make some new friends, meet some cool people, and yeah, make some professional connections as well. So my talk today is called Sharing Vulnerabilities, or subtitle, Emotional Intelligence isn't just a coping strategy for the logically impaired and other lessons that I should have learned earlier. So I've actually spoken at BSidesSF 4 times before, which I believe if this was Saturday Night Live today, I would be getting some sort of smoking jacket, a 5-timer smoking jacket after this. So I'm, looking to the corners to see if that the organizers agree. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of break the fourth wall for a second and just sort of directly state sort of my thesis and the overall structure of the talk, and we'll get into more details soon. So basically, I'm going to argue that interpersonal skills can meaningfully improve your career and relationships, whether that's professional, romantic, or with friends and family. I haven't always thought that way, and I'm going to explain why my opinions on this have changed over time. I'm going to share some concrete stories about why this stuff is important and some lessons learned. I'll have some exercises you can do if you want to, and the appendix, there will be a whole bunch of resources as well. So this is a security talk about security people, but really the focus is on people. So I'm going to tell a ton of stories about some failures I've had, some times when I was really embarrassed, some deepening of friendships, some people finding love, and also death, because as the first talk of the day, I thought we would start light. And also, of course, plenty of memes and some embarrassing photos of young me. And I just wanted to share up front that I am going to share a story towards the end of someone close to me battling with cancer. So if that is currently something very sensitive for you, I just wanted to tell you up front so it's not a surprise later. Okay, so we talk about vulnerabilities all the time in security, obviously, often how to eradicate cross-site scripting and things like that. So in this talk, I mean vulnerability more in a interpersonal context. So Brené Brown, who is a very well-known author and speaker, defines it as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure, which, to be honest, I felt a lot of both in the creation of this talk as well as sharing it today with you all. So I know that some of you may be thinking, I came here to hack, not to feel. And listen, I totally get it. Like most of my life, most of my career, I felt exactly the same way. In fact, if you went back more than just a few years ago, and you told me that I would be speaking about this topic today, I wouldn't believe you, and I might even laugh at you. But I'm going to explain a little bit about why my opinions on this have changed over time. So when the organizers came to me and said, Clint, give a talk on whatever you want, part of me was like, okay, well, I could do like a TLDR AI 2.0 or some sort of technical talk that I'm like, well, this is in my wheelhouse. People will find it useful. But when I took a step back and thought, what is the impact that I want to have on the world and the security community, ultimately I thought, this is really the talk that I wish I had 5 to 10 years ago, because I think that it would have meaningfully improved my life, both in terms of career, having deeper friendships, having better closeness and intimacy with romantic partner, and just overall being happier, to be honest. So my goal in this talk is to, hopefully help you in some of those things as well, or at least give you some perspective. Or phrased another way, how can I help you speed run some of the places I've sort of face planted or various heartaches I've had? Okay, so just super quickly, a little bit about me. So I work at SemGrep. We do application security stuff. So SAST, SCA, secrets, blah, 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 stuff like that. So I also write the TLDRsec newsletter. So if you want to keep up with the latest security tools, research, and things like that, it's totally free. Feel free to check it out. But really, my goal in this talk is to share a bunch of personal stories so that you can start seeing me as more than just professional resume Clint and more as a whole person. And I hope that I hope that this storytelling also encourages you to do the same over the course of this conference and going forward. Okay, so this is sort of the overall big picture agenda, so I'm going to tell you stories in each of these. So first, I'm going to share a number of failures I've had. I'm going to talk about how encouragement can be really powerful and cause people to rise to the occasion. I'll talk a bit about how showing yourself can help you find your people. I'll talk about the power of having a non-traditional background. I'll discuss how you can deepen friendships through sort of sharing vulnerably, and then I'll finish with some stories about family. So I'm going to name some specific names in these stories, and I'm doing that for two reasons. So one is that a number of these people have meaningfully improved my life, and just I want to give them like a shout out and thanks and show them that I appreciate them. Some of them are in the audience today. And also, I wanted to make it real, right? Like I could describe some abstract academic situations, and I think intellectually you could be like, yeah, like that makes sense. But I think it lands differently, at least to me, when it's like, oh, this specific person in this time did this thing. So I think it lands more to me when it's more concrete. And also, just to be clear, I have permission from everyone mentioned in this talk that I can use their name and likeness, so I'm not like surprising anybody. Okay, so one theme that's going to come up a few times in this talk is the finiteness of life. So there's a great blog post by Wait But Why called Your Life in Weeks, which basically sort of maps out both by year and by week, like different phases of life, sort of nicely visually. And ultimately, you know, there's just not a lot of time. It sort of makes very nicely visually clear. So I'm bringing this up now because it's going to be relevant later. And like one term for that sort of device, if this was a play, is called Chekhov's gun, which is sort of a narrative principle where you're like, okay, if in the first act you have hung a loaded pistol on the wall, then in Act 2 or Act 3, you have to scan your infrastructure's code with a security scanning tool. Okay, so this is actually so much more laughter than I thought I was going to get. Because, you know, this sort of like, you're a security nerd, you're a theater nerd, and, you know, there's this very narrow overlap. So, yeah, I was thinking about having a comment or a slide that was like, you know, I expect 5 laughs here. But, oh man, we did so well. I'm so pleased. Yeah, so... Yeah, and so I think one of the reasons I was thinking about cutting this joke because I was like, I don't know if anyone will like it. But I think really one of the themes of this talk is like putting yourself out there, leaning into what makes you unique. And I really love theater and improv and things like that. So, you know, this is very truthful to me. So I wanted to keep this in, even though, you know, maybe there's not many of us, but I would argue at least dozens. Okay, so just like before I get into it, over the past couple of years, I've been thinking a little bit to myself, like, why did it take me so long to prioritize or recognize the importance of emotional intelligence? And I think there's many reasons. So for example, in school, especially in math and science, you know, it really encourages us to focus on analytical thinking. Obviously, in our field, in security, analytical thinking is king. But I think also it's useful to go deeper. So if we take a step back and think like what made you, obviously parents, both in terms of nature and nurture, had a big impact. And I think, at least like reflecting on my own life, and I'll share with you some concrete stories right after this, really shapes like what we value or what we think is not as important and really how we see the world. So I'm going to share some stories about me, but really the point here, like that doesn't matter. It's more, I want to encourage you to think like how did your childhood affect what you feel and believe now? And you know, maybe some of those beliefs are great, and some of them you might be like, oh, maybe I want to update that mental model a little bit. Okay, so this is a picture of me in 2nd or 3rd grade, and from a young age, my parents said, you know, Clint, we expect you to get A's in all your classes, and you know, if it's not an A, I guess that's okay, but we're going to need you to try a little bit harder. And you know, it's either you're getting an A or you're trying as hard as you can in a class. So if it's not an A, you should be trying very hard. And so this is a picture of me in high school, and there was a specific time that I remember, I think it was junior year, I was having a parent-teacher conference with my guidance counselor at the time, and he asked me, how would you describe your parents' parenting style? To which 16-year-old Clint responded, results-oriented. Uh, and so he was aghast. But my parents looked to each other and then looked to me, and they were so happy. Uh, they were like, he gets us. Like, yes. And it seemed very logical to me. I was like, yeah, like I get it. Um, and when you think of someone like me in this example, was raised with both those type of parents and that sort of worldview, it makes a lot of sense why I would focus on academics, focus on career, and ultimately I think it's a big contributor to why I'm standing here in front of you all right now, right? And so I'm very grateful to them for their love and affection, and also encouraging me to try to be the best I can be. Without that, I probably wouldn't have done many of the things that I have done. But it also makes sense why, like, oh, someone raised like that, it would make sense why they would maybe not focus as much on more the emotional intelligence side of things until perhaps later. So, just sort of like makes sense, I think. So I share this to be like, oh, maybe what are some things for you that are like that? Obviously, all of our stories are different. Okay, so that was a little bit of like sort of backstory, but let's get into some additional stories. So I'm going to share a bunch of failures I've had. And the reason I did that is because I think it's easy to see someone speaking in front of you, and you're going to see many great talks today, and it's easy to think, and I fall into this trap too, like, oh, all this person probably does is win, right? Like everything they do probably succeeds. But I've actually failed a lot, both interpersonally and professionally. Really, a lot of my life has been eating humble pie, or if I were to do it to scale, it would look more like this. So out of undergrad, I applied to a bunch of PhD programs. I was rejected by most of them. When I was a grad student, I submitted a bunch of papers to conferences. Most of them were rejected. I think the first time I submitted basically every paper, it was rejected, and some were rejected many times. So I think over the course of my career, I've applied to Google 3 times, and I was rejected all 3 times, which you can check my math, but I believe is a 0% success rate. My friend Luisa was writing an article for Forbes, this is in 2020, and I'm quoted as saying, yeah, like machine learning and security or security vendors, I don't think that's a big thing. Obviously, a few things have happened since then. And then last year, I gave a talk at BSidesSF about applying AI to security, so sort of 2020 Clint eating his words. And the reason I wanted to share this is because I think the most successful people also fail a ton, and failure is not permanent. So I want to share these stories about me so that when something happens to you, you're like, oh yeah, this is just part of it. This is fine. Yeah, and I wanted to say that you are enough. Wherever you are right now, whatever that's totally fine. And we're all in this process and learning and growing together. So don't stress about it. Okay, let's talk about the power of encouragement. So I spend a lot of time reading blog posts and other sort of security research things. And one of my favorite things to see is someone tackling an area and then sort of doing this awesome tear and like breaking a bunch of things in this ecosystem. And so I'm going to share one of those examples specifically in the supply chain security space with GitHub Actions. And also like how our words can make a big difference even when we're not aware of it. Okay, so this is a blog post by Adnan Khan, and basically he found a vulnerability such that he was able to backdoor GitHub's base runner images, would then have allowed him to conduct a supply chain attack on any GitHub customer that used hosted runners. So when I saw that, right, I was like, yikes, what a high impact finding. So then Adnan, John Stawinski, and others then sort of went on a tear and broke a whole bunch of other things. Meanwhile, I'm just sort of in the corner, enjoying it, eating popcorn, watching them do amazing work, and also I think make security better for like the broader world ecosystem. They then went on to speak about it at Black Hat and DEF CON, and actually that summer, Adnan reached out to me and said, hey, Clint, if you are going to be in Vegas, let's hang out. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So we met up, And basically I said, hey man, it's super cool to see what you're doing. I love your work. You're making, a huge impact, and, keep it up. This is super exciting to see. And what he said actually surprised me. He was like, one of our earlier blog posts, you actually called out in TLDRsec, and it really encouraged us and sort of motivated us to keep going on this journey. And when I later connected with John Stawinski, who was also involved in a lot of this work, he was like, yeah, having the broader security community be like, yeah, this is good, impactful work, really motivated us to do this arc, and convinced Praetorian to give us more research time so we could build tools and find more bugs. And I was like, wow, that's so great. I had no idea. I was just, admiring you from a corner and cheering you on for like a year, and I had no idea about this. So yeah, the whole time I was just like, yeah, like these people are doing amazing work. I'm so happy for them. And I had no idea that just sort of like an offhand encouragement could be obviously a small part, but did help a little bit in terms of motivating them to keep going. So I have sort of two ideas here. So one is, this is more like on the professional side. I think an effective way to do security research is to choose an area and then go very deep, and then apply that tooling or domain expertise sort of at an ecosystem level, sort of apply that hammer everywhere. And at a more interpersonal level, I think, it's really powerful telling people when they're doing great. That encouragement can go very far, even when you're not aware of it. And I think all of us have one, probably more people in our lives that, a kind word of encouragement here or there could make a very meaningful difference in what they choose to pursue or how they believe in themselves. So this is a picture of a sort of stereotypical San Francisco hipster. And yeah, actually, I think the prompt was like San Francisco hipster or something. But yeah, I think there, in some cultures or in some perspectives, there is like a coolness to being aloof and not too excited about things. But personally, I think being earnest is very cool. And I think, I love when someone's doing cool work, being like, hey man, like keep it up, this is awesome, like I believe in you. And so I think I would encourage you all to do that as well. So this is a tweet from Dan Kaminsky that I thought was very nice. Basically, like, you don't need permission to be awesome, but if you think you do, this is me giving you permission. So what I would say to Adnan and John, and what I would say to all of you, is that I can't wait to see all the great things you'll do. I think everyone in this room and at this conference, or who's watching later, absolutely has the skill and motivation to do world-class work. So, and me, selfishly, I like reading about it, so I can't wait to see it. Okay, I want to tell a story about how showing yourself can help you find your people. But before I do that, a quick backstory on my friend Tanya. So this is how she and I met. So we were at AppSec California a number of years ago. Rest in peace, no longer a conference. And basically what happened is she came up and said, hey, I'm Tanya. I'm also into AppSec. Like, let's be friends. And we immediately hit it off and have since then hung out at conferences all over the world. And yeah, whenever she's in town, we always try to catch up. And this was just because she randomly came up and said hi. And the reason I'm sharing this is that a random chat you have today or tomorrow at BSidesSF, like that person could be your good friend in 5 years. Just like a random one-off conversation in line, or when you're sitting in a talk, or yeah, over lunch or at a party tonight, for example. And I know it can be kind of scary to meet new people. I know I feel that. So feel free to steal this line, which I like to use, is just, hey, what's something cool you've been working on recently? And then they can talk a bit about their work, you can talk about your work, and yeah, all of a sudden, bam, you're in a conversation. And this is going to tie into a quest I will give you all later. Okay, so back to Tanya. So this is a few years into us being friends, and she said to me one day, Clint, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding a life partner because I feel like I'm intimidating to a lot of people. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, well, I mean, Tanya, let's be honest. Like, you're a badass. You give keynotes all over the world. You've got multiple best-selling books. So, like, yeah, I get it. But I think that rather than trying to dim your light or pretend to be less than you are, I think you should lean into that, right? You should be like, yeah, I am a hardworking person, as well as being very loving and kind as well. And I think that the right person for you will care for you not in despite of these things, but because of these things, right? Like leaning into who you are. I think hopefully you'll find someone who loves that about you. And she did actually lean into this advice and really leaned into who she was. And not too long after that, she actually found someone that she's been very happy with. They've been dating for years, and I think they recently were engaged. So yeah, and then she created a YouTube video about this story as well. So it's linked in the show notes if you want to check it out, but it's very sweet. So my point here is that by being yourself can help you find your people. And sort of conversely, if you don't show yourself, how will your ideal person or company know when they found you, right? If you're just this sort of bland, generic version of yourself, they won't see that in you. So a book I really like about this is called Scary Close by Donald Miller. It has many good quotes. One of them is, if we live behind a mask, we can impress, but we can't connect. Or, what if the people we consider to be great are actually the most broken, which obviously has no relevance to this immediate talk or moment. So the point here is I would encourage you to let yourself be seen. Okay, let's talk about the awesomeness of having a non-traditional background. So this is my friend Rachel. So actually, fun fact, she and I were friends from the improv comedy scene before she got into security. But what I think is really cool about her background is, so she has a degree in neuroscience. She then spent a number of years doing customer experience research. And then from there, she went to DEF CON and got, I believe, second place in the social engineering CTF 3 years in a row. And then sort of pivoted her career more into security, where now she is recording videos of social engineering and hacking billionaires and CNN correspondents, right? So what a cool career journey. And she actually talked about this in her BSidesSF keynote a couple of years ago. And so what I would argue is that Rachel's so good at social engineering, not in despite of her background, but because of her background, right? The fact that she has a degree in neuroscience and spent so many years doing user research, like those skills actually make her great at what she does today and makes the security community better, I think, for her having a diverse background and skill set. So the point I wanted to convey here is that just because you don't have a specific background, whether that's engineering, computer science, or something like that, doesn't mean you can't excel in security. So here's some people, backgrounds of people that I personally know, like I could name a name for each of these people who are crushing it in security, even if they have degrees in physics or English or theater or music, or they used to be an eco-pirate, or they dropped out of college, didn't go to college. Yeah, so really, I think with the right amount of focus and effort, anyone and everyone can be successful here. And so what I wanted to say is, regardless of what you look like or what your background is, you belong here, both at BSidesSF and in the security community as a whole. Okay, so we're going into a bit more personal section now. So these are going to be some stories about deepening friendship through vulnerability. Okay, so I don't know, I'm going to speak for myself for a second. I think for most of my life, I tried to, be upbeat and positive, and I tried to lift up the people around me. And I think there's a fear I have, or a story I tell myself, that if I were to express negative emotions like sadness, grief, or like, oh, I feel like I'm behind either in life or in this area, I think my fear is that expressing these things will drive people away, and that they may consider me a burden, or that I will feel like a burden. So it can make it scary to express these sort of negative feelings. But what I found, and I'm going to give you 2 examples of right now, is how sharing some of these personal challenges can actually not just not drive people away, but can actually bring people closer. Okay, so example number 1. So This was a number of years ago. I was several years into a relationship, and my romantic partner and I were trying to decide, like, okay, are we moving forward and getting married or not? And it was a very stressful time. And what I realized is that I wasn't as effective as I wanted to be at, like, honestly just understanding how I felt and being able to communicate that effectively to her. And to be honest, it was very surprising to me, right? Because I was like, okay, at work, I can understand abstract concepts and break problems down into component pieces and solve them. I'm like, easy, no problem. But understanding myself and like my own feelings and being able to communicate that was like surprisingly much harder, which I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I have like firsthand knowledge of this, right? Like I should be good at this versus like understanding some abstract concept like same origin policy or something like that. So basically this kicked off so some personal growth for me, and really in some ways was the catalyst that led to me giving you this talk today. So I started doing a lot of journaling, going to therapy, and reading a bunch of books on like communication and interpersonal dynamics and like vulnerability, relationships, marriage, like all these sorts of things. Just to be like, I feel like I'm, level 1 out of 100 in this, and maybe like at least if I'm like 2 or 5 would be great. And so another thing I did is that I reached out to a bunch of friends as well as professional colleagues. And a number of these professional colleagues, to be honest, like I didn't know very well at the time. So I kind of really felt like I was going out on a limb there. And basically what I said is like, hey, this is super awkward, but I feel like I'm really struggling in my relationship right now, and I'd really appreciate your feedback. Like, do you mind if I ask you some questions? And to my surprise, pretty much all of them, everyone that I asked were like, yeah, sure, I would be happy to, even though that I wasn't really that close to them. We just knew each other from like conferences and things. So they were very, very kind in sharing stories about like how they met their partner, what sort of challenges they had, how they overcame them, and giving me feedback as well. And what I realized is that, well, first I felt less alone because there was like my peers and other people I trusted and respected, that they had also gone through similar challenges and I wasn't alone in this. And also, instead of driving people away, I think that, again, it actually brought us all closer, such that even though this was years ago, I feel like I'm closer with all of these people because we talked about more than just work things and because they were there for me in a time of need. Yeah, so it's easy to like intellectually understand this, but I think actually doing it, at least to me, is scarier, but also like feels meaningfully different. So what I would encourage you all to do is to think of someone in your life, maybe a couple of people that you're like, oh, I like these people, but we're maybe not that close yet. And next time you hang out with them, consider sharing something a little bit more personal. Maybe not the most personal thing, but open up a little bit and see how it goes. Also, my friend Jacob is involved in 2 other talks, I believe, today, so feel free to check those out. I'm sure they're going to be awesome. Okay, so this next story, also about deepening friendships through vulnerability, takes place, this is a few years later than after the previous story. So I was at my friend Daniel Miesler's house, and obviously his house looks like some sort of wizard cave. Basically at some point I said, okay, listen, this is going to sound really awkward, and I feel very embarrassed to say this. I'm going to be honest with you, but I have to get something off my chest. If I'm honest, I'm a little bit jealous of your relationship with Jason Haddix. Like, you guys have been friends for, like a decade, and I really appreciate your guys' closeness, and I feel weird saying this because I love Jason. I've been a huge fan of his work for like years and years. And I feel bad saying this because it's like I feel kind of embarrassed and ashamed. I feel kind of like a baby, like some toddler that doesn't want to share toys. And yeah, I guess part of me is also like very concerned about like, are you going to judge me for saying this? Are you going to think less of me? So if I were to visually represent this dynamic of what I was feeling, I think that it would look something like this. Or if I were to pull from one of the great novels of our time, Twilight, it might look like this. Team Jacob, baby. Um, so yeah, I was actually very surprised by what happened next. So I'm like, ugh, feeling a lot of anxiety about sharing this. Um, but then what Daniel actually said is he was like, "Oh, thanks so much for telling me. That means a lot that you trust me to communicate that to me. But if I'm being honest, I really appreciate these vulnerable chats that we have. But I know that Clint, you have other people in your life that you also have some of these vulnerable chats with, and I'm kind of jealous about that." So, unbeknownst to me, while I was feeling the one way, Daniel was actually feeling sort of the same way about someone else. And yeah, I was like, oh wow, I had no idea that you felt that way. And I think that we both felt better sort of getting this off our chest. And I think that it really built some closeness or additional closeness between us because we're like, oh, this person can hold space for me, sharing something that feels embarrassing and is not something we would normally admit, especially about again like a very good mutual friend of ours. Because yeah, it's kind of weird to say, but yeah, we became closer friends after that, still to this day. And I think after that, we hugged it out and then went on to do what one always does when hanging out with Daniel, which is writing AI prompts and watching speed chess on YouTube. So it was excellent after. So yeah, the lesson here is I would encourage you to do the things that scare you, whether that's taking a risk professionally or perhaps opening up about something personal and meaningful to you interpersonally. Okay, so one metaphor I like to think about, this is going to make sense in a second. You may have heard of the TCP three-way handshake. So I would like to propose the vulnerable CP three-way handshake, which looks kind of like this. So first, you share something vulnerable about yourself, something that you feel is a little bit sensitive or you're a little bit uncomfortable to share. And the other person can choose to mirror that and also share something vulnerable or sort of acknowledge what you've said. And then now you've established a deeper level of trust and connection. And so going forward, you can communicate sort of about a broader swath of things and have a deeper connection. And sort of the thing I want to call out here is that it takes someone initiating, right? Someone needs to take the lead in sharing something a bit personal such that the other person maybe feels a bit safer to open up as well. Of course, not everyone may be comfortable with that, which is totally fine. I think it's still valuable to have people who are friends at like differing levels of depth. Or perhaps if there's a relationship that you feel like you can let go of, that is also fine because, sometimes letting things go is for the best. Okay, so last stories. Poignant pause to drink water. Okay, so I'm going to tell you some stories about my dad. And to be honest, I didn't originally plan to include any of these stories. Yeah, it's going to be clear that he's a very wonderful person. It's not representative. I just really liked this meme. But yeah, so when I was conceiving of this talk, I didn't actually plan to include any of these stories, but as I was reflecting on my life and thinking about like what are the sort of keystone moments in my life that have formed who I am today and sort of how I see the world, I realized that really a number of these things that I'm about to share with you right now were some of these defining moments that I still look back on fondly. And also, I think I could have easily sort of taken a different path, but I'm really glad that I did what I did. So I'm going to share these so that hopefully it can influence how you all see the world and maybe some decisions you make. Okay, so the first of these, not all time is created equal. So this is the summer before my last year of grad school. I was interning at Lookout, which is a mobile security company, and then I was about to go back to grad school. And that's when I heard that my dad's lymphoma had come back. So he had been battling cancer on and off from when I was in high school and then undergrad and then now grad school. And the thing about long-term illnesses is you kind of don't know how much time you have, right? You don't know like, oh, is he going to get better soon? Is it going to be like a multi-year fight, or is it only going to be maybe a few weeks and then escalate drastically? And so I obviously very stressful time, but also I didn't know what to do because I was like, well, I'm kind of in the middle of a couple different work things, and I'm stressed about telling my boss. I don't know if there's going to be professional repercussions. I don't know how they'll handle it. And what I ended up doing is I told my lookout manager, like, hey, I need to end the internship early so I can be with my family. And I told my grad school advisor that I'll be back, or I'll come back, but like just in a few weeks. And I was very fortunate in that they were both very understanding and were like, oh yeah, family's important. You should do that. And the reason I share this is because I almost didn't do that, but when I look back on my life and I'm like, oh, what are the decisions I'm most happy that I made? This is one of them. So hopefully this is obvious to many of you, but I just wanted to really emphasize that medical emergencies, whether it's you, family, or friends, is just much more important than work. And again, it is definitely being in a position of privilege to have the economic flexibility to be able to be a little bit flexible with some of these things. But if you can, I think that it's important. And then also, there's going to be moments in life where either that time or your presence is just much more important than other times. So what I would encourage you to think about is periodically ask yourself, like, is now one of those times, whether illness, death, wedding, birth, like all these sorts of things are some examples. And also, yeah, like, is this a keystone moment in my or someone else's life? And would I really regret if I didn't do this? Okay, so one thing that I did in this time is I actually interviewed my dad over dozens of hours over a couple of weeks. So I was actually 26 at the time, but I thought that this photo was sort of emotionally relevant. So I'm actually 96 now, but I have a really great skincare routine, so that's why I look like this. So I realized that despite knowing him for my entire life, there was a lot about his life that I didn't know, right? Like, what was his childhood like, and things like that. And I realized that if I didn't ask him now, there's a lot of details that I would never know. And at least for me, it's easy to put off sort of awkward or sensitive conversations because you're like, we'll talk about it later. But when you don't know if there's going to be a later, I think for me, it helps me sort of push through some of that awkwardness. So when I told him that I wanted to interview him about his life, he was like, okay, yeah, let me type up a few notes and send them to you. So he then sends me a very dense, like 2-page Excel document where each line is like, okay, from year to year, I was here doing this. From year to year, your mom and I were doing this. I had to laugh. Like, who, when someone says, I want to interview you about your life, is like, yeah, I should create a super dense 2-page Excel doc and send that almost like a meeting agenda of like talking about your own life. That and many other moments, I was like, okay, definitely my dad. No paternity test needed. I am definitely sure that this man is my father. So, yeah, and I think it was a very special few weeks. I think that we grew closer in those few weeks than we had in the prior, say, like 25 years of me knowing him. And I think what's nice about it is it's not just getting to see and know him better, but to also, again, sort of see myself better as well. So, I don't know, maybe this is a vibe kill, but what I would encourage you to do is, and again, maybe you have a bad relationship with your parents or they're not around, so maybe there's other loved ones in your life. But I would encourage you to interview them or at least talk to them and try to get to know them a little bit better. And I think it's nice not just knowing the logistical, like where were they and what did they do, but also like why, like how were they thinking, what was their motivation, like how do they see the world? And there's many good questions, and maybe like I'll write a blog post that has like more of these things, because I've actually mentioned this to a few people who've done it, and they've said it was really gratifying. And so I would encourage you to record it if you and the other person feel comfortable, both so that you have like something to reflect on or listen to later, and also because it's 2025, and you can clone their voice and talk to them forever. What a time to be alive. But yeah, maybe nice, maybe dark. And yeah, and again, I think this helps them feel seen and witnessed, and also you can help see yourself better. Again, sort of the theme of finiteness of life. Okay, so this is last story about this topic. I think it's easy to intellectually understand the idea of like, what do you want written on your tombstone, or what will people say when you're gone? But I think it's very different if you're like actually at someone's wake or funeral and hearing what their workmates and their friends say about them. Like, oh, he helped mentor me about this, or he was my friend and helped me navigate this relationship challenge, or things like that. And I think that it made me think about, how do I want to show up in the world? What sort of legacy do I want to have, and what impact do I want to have on the world? And to be honest, like part of that is what made me give this talk today instead of just a technical talk, because I think that not a lot of people think about this. And so my hope is to plant a little seed that maybe you can think of later. So yeah, I would encourage you to think, like, what do you want to, everyone is unique and they have their own unique backgrounds and skills. So what can you uniquely bring to the world? And, what is your gift, and what do you want to share, and what impact are you going to make? Because I think it's going to be very special. Okay, this is a little bit corny, but I want you to think about someone in your life you want to get to know a little bit better. Based on either their stories about the friendship or this story. And think and promise to yourself, or me, if you want external accountability, that in the next week or say month, be like, this person, you can think of a specific name, I'm going to have a conversation where I get to know this person a little bit better. It doesn't have to be super deep, it could just be a little bit. But yeah, think of that person, and then I will make eye contact with every single individual person in this room. Okay, good, we did it. Cool. Okay, so when I created this talk, I actually created like 2 to 3 times as much content, and I had to cut like so much. But I just wanted to share some things that didn't make the cut. There's also a number of things in the appendix, but I just wanted to give you a preview of some of those things because they were too delightful to me to not share. So this is a quick preview of the director's cut. And again, I'm just going to sort of blaze through a few things, not spend a ton of time on it, because yeah, condensing things down and going through them quickly is something that's very special to me. Okay, so one idea that I think is cool. I think relationships, whether they be good friends or romantic partners, can help you see yourself better. And also, this meme was too good for me to cut. I originally had a section on therapy, and one of those parts was like, just like hiring a gym trainer doesn't immediately make you swole, going to therapy, like you still need to put in the work and, never skip emotional leg day. There was going to be a section on how parental dynamics influence partner choices. And, have you ever thought of a meme, or a pun that you were like so happy with, and you were like, oh my God, I'm so pleased. And then you find out that Saturday Night Live already did a sketch with that exact pun. So happy Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, if you're familiar with your Greek mythology, which will be explained more in a second. I'm not hearing a lot of. Right. So this is OpenAI's new image gen. When I was like, hey, Oedipus giving flowers to his mom, is like, whoa. Let's keep things respectful with no inappropriate implications, which I thought was such a delightful refusal. Okay, so basically for each of these topics here, I have like 3 or more book recommendations that are in the appendix. There will be a list or a link to the slides in a second. Also, if you want, I'm hereby giving you permission. If you see me here at this conference, feel free to come up and give me a hug. Or if this talk made you think about something, or you have a story you want to share with me, I hereby give you permission to share that. So obviously no pressure, but if you want to, this is me giving you permission to do so. And I wanted to close with your work matters, right? So we are helping secure the systems used by our friends, family, loved ones, and billions of other people, right? And so this work matters, and this stuff we're going to be learning over the next few days, is making a meaningful difference in the world. And also, you matter. So there were a bunch of people who had a huge role in making this talk better, so I just wanted to thank them. You can go to it later. And so here is a link to the slides. I've tried to have a lot of the sort of lessons all condensed into one place here. But yeah, I'll also post this on, I don't know, LinkedIn and other things as well. Okay, and before I close, one more thing. So my dad had a card that said, what's the best use of my time, my life right now? And I have this card now, and this is actually a photo of my bookshelf in my apartment. And what I like about it is that it's sort of a constant reminder to me to am I, making the most of my time and spending my time in a meaningful way? And I just sort of like this reminder, and it really ties me to a specific place and time. And, BSidesSF is a very special place to me. And also giving this talk and sharing it with you all is also very special. So what I decided to do is basically so again, Chekhov's gun. This has been seeded the whole talk. You've been watching it. So a bunch of those slides I have printed out on individual little cards. So you belong, you are enough, things like that. So there's 5 different cards, and there's supposedly should be volunteers on the side who will be passing out these cards. So I printed out a whole bunch of them, and I actually signed pretty much all of them, just to tie it more to a specific time and place. Yeah, so I only partially have arthritis now. But yeah, so in theory, there's a bunch of these cards that are maybe being passed out. Oh, being passed out now. Yeah, so there's 5 different cards. So if you want another one, so my quest for you is if you meet someone new and then come up to me or go to the info desk and say, hey, I met someone new at this conference, they'll give you another one. Or just find me and I'll have a bunch of extra ones. But yeah, so right after this, if you want to come share your story or ask me some questions, I'm going to be in the City View tent, so I would love to meet you and talk with you further. But really just thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the BSidesSF organizers for having me. It's been a pleasure, and have a wonderful rest of your conference, and take care.
Let's hear it for Clint!